From the Evening Standard in London, I'm David Marsland, and this is The Leader.
It's a confident and safe and careful step the UK is making, and we want to get opened up to international travel. It's in our interest, but of course we also want to open up safely and securely with other key high trust partners around the world. America's one of them, but there are many others.
Dominic Raab's been hinting there may be some changes to travel in the UK next week. The Foreign Secretary says he was contacted by other foreign ministers on Wednesday night after the government announced that double-jabbed visitors from the EU and US would be allowed into the UK from Monday without having to quarantine. Of course, that doesn't mean those countries will let Brits in. The US in particular does not seem keen, no matter what Mr. Raab says. But there seems to be optimism that the tide is turning. Travel journalist Simon Calder is with me now. Simon, the government might think that other countries are going to open up to the UK. Is that what you think?
I've been absolutely baffled with what's been happening in the past 24 hours. First of all, this was trumpeted as a great opening up. In fact, all it was doing was belatedly, grudgingly saying, OK, we have to admit that if you have been vaccinated in the EU or the United States, then the chances are your vaccine is just as good as our NHS one. So obviously it was stupid. Obviously, it had to change, and that's what's happened. And the idea that Joe Biden will be quaking in his Oval Office in the White House because the government has now grudgingly said Americans can come in, that he's suddenly going to say, oh, well, that's all right then, when 6 weeks ago, when the European Union actually got their bid in first, nothing at all has happened. So here we are. It's not often I actually, during this crisis, find my universe overlapping with that of the foreign secretaries, but it, my goodness, has done this morning. He's been saying, well, of course France is on the Amber Plus list. Haven't you seen the beta variant rates en Réunion, which, as you will know, because I'm sure you spend most holidays there, is 6,000 miles away in the Indian Ocean. He said it's nothing to do with distance, it's all to do with connectivity, which has taken quite a lot of the travel industry by surprise, not least because it wasn't long before people were pointing out, hang on, if Reunion's so bad, why isn't it on the Amber Plus list then? It's just astonishing. And it's one of those things where clearly 2 weeks ago, the government messed up by coming up with this Amber Plus category. And instead of just saying, yeah, we got it wrong and we'll put it right, they are now digging their hole ever deeper. Thank goodness there's not a global crisis on that requires some strong, wise leadership.
But with the US, Simon, I know that Joe Biden is not quaking in his boots in the Oval Office, but there is a lot of money at stake in that travel industry between the United States and between the UK. There must be people lobbying the White House right now to get things opened up between these two countries. We have a special relationship, for goodness sake, Simon.
Yeah, but that counts for nothing. I mean, London Heathrow used to be the main hub, of course, for New York and the rest of the US. Not anymore. That status, I think, will continue to dwindle. The Americans, I mean, you've got to, of course, appreciate how it looks from there. The American carriers, yeah, of course, American, Delta and United would quite like to have a bit more of a shot. Indeed, JetBlue, which is launching flights to London next month, they would like to have a bit more of a chance to fly people. But while the US Treasury is pumping billions of dollars into them to keep them afloat, they're not really that, I think the technical term is bothered. Whereas British Airways and Virgin Atlantic, of course, who have just burned through billions in cash during the coronavirus pandemic, desperate to open up. And again, I just don't think that necessarily resonates in the White House. They're in no hurry to open up. Their domestic tourism industry is doing really well because, of course, Americans, if they can't go on holiday abroad, they have a vast and wonderful country they can take their vacation in. It's the UK who are kind of knocking at the door, desperate to be allowed in. It will probably all happen round about sort of September, way too late to save the summer. But that would be pretty much in line with everything else which has happened during this miserable pandemic. The airlines are pretty much at the back of the queue, along with the cruise ships. And a little bit of good news yesterday again, the government saying, OK, international cruising starts again from Monday. The cruise lines are saying, no, it doesn't. It doesn't work like that. We need weeks, probably months of organisation to get our ships ready to go internationally. So it's pretty dismal here on Planet Travel, I'm afraid, David.
Are the companies working on Planet Travel themselves, are they seeing this as light at the end of the tunnel? Are they starting to feel more optimistic? Or is it kind of, I feel like there's a sense of almost ennui out there at the moment, Simon?
Well, look, there is no grounds for optimism whatsoever, because every time the government does something which people think, well, that's a positive, marvellous, so we can come back from amber list countries without having to quarantine, there is something coming down the track that we haven't even begun to think of, which in this case was Amber Plus. And not only does that effectively write off travel to and from one of our two most popular countries, along with Spain, it also completely destabilizes everything. And so if I have a look on my social media feed right now, I'll find 20 people saying, is Spain going to go on the Amber Plus list? What about Greece? And unfortunately, with that kind of uncertainty around, nobody is going to be a serious buyer of forward travel. And one of the great sadnesses will be the way that the UK used to have the finest travel industry in the world, and this is being, I was going to say eroded, I would say actually kind of almost positively destroyed by the government as it treats the travel industry and those who work in it and seek to benefit from it with disdain bordering on contempt.
And that's the leader. If you want to hear more from Simon, he has his own daily podcast with our sister title, The Independent, looking at travel issues like this one and giving advice. Look for Green List Travel with Simon Calder on your podcast provider. Join us again tomorrow at 4 p.m. for the latest news, analysis, interviews and features.